Are you jumping into the off-grid lifestyle too soon?
Hello, welcome to our channel. We're all about sharing our adventures and experiences around our homestead and off-grid cabin here on our 40 acres in the wilderness of Ontario, Canada.
We enjoy life around the cabin, exploring, canoeing, hiking, campfire cooking, gardening, and sharing our love of nature.
If you haven't done so yet, consider subscribing and click the little notification bell so you won't miss anything. Right here on Cabin Life with Glenn and Maureen.
Hi folks, I'm Glenn.
I'm Maureen.
And today we're talking about, is it too soon to jump into that off-grid lifestyle?
Today we're going to cover a few key points that you're going to want to add to your checklist before you buy land.
Right here on Cabin Life.
There's two ways to get into the off-grid lifestyle. The one is to know exactly what you want and follow your course of plan.
And the other is just to jump on in and wing it.
And you wouldn't believe how many people have actually done that, just went in and winged it. And there's quite a few success stories, but then there's some horror stories too. There's a lot of resources available online to look for properties or to get ideas of what the markets are. There's Realtor.ca, there's Zillow, there's Dignamland, Kijiji, and Landwatch, to name a few.
These are all some things that you'll want to do before you actually purchase your land.
Before you start looking, there's a few things that you're going to want to do. Number one is decide what you want to do, where you want to go, whereabouts you want to live, and know what everyone's roles are going to be. So if you're going to be homesteading, who's going to be responsible for the garden or the animals or all those chores that you're thinking of getting
Right.
starting
Yeah.
to do?
As you discuss your plans with your partners, your spouse, your family, each one should look forward to a role that they're going to play in this new adventure that you're about to undertake. And it's always nice, if the kids can look after, the chickens, or if you plan on doing something like that, or just a special chore that they all have to look forward to, and a responsibility as they develop their new venture.
And there's also, what services will you be needing? If you're going to be in a homestead, will you need a well or water? Will you need to be on a river or a lake or a stream? Just septic? Now, are you going to be looking for land and starting off with vacant land, or are you going to be looking for land that already has all the buildings and pretty well established as a homestead?
So you want to determine the type of use that you want from your land, and the types of activities that you're going to be doing on the land, whether it's a farm or a homestead. Perhaps it's just a cabin in the woods where you don't have a lot of infrastructure and that kind of a thing, which is a whole different story, a range of going off grid. So choose what works for you,
and that will help in finding your land, because if you want a homestead and you're going to have animals and large gardens, then it's not very practical to buy a full forested lot. Then you'd be spending your resources removing the trees.
Right. Choose the land that fits your needs. There's not really much point in buying a forest only to clear it so that you can create a farm with it, as Maureen said, and vice versa. Buy a farm and eventually you'll want a forest. You're best to buy the land that suits your needs and the uses that you plan on doing. So absolutely, if you buy wet land, you don't want to spend all your resources in trying to dry it up. If you buy dry land, you don't want to spend your resources in making it wet. So and it's part and parcel of looking at that different range of properties that are available to you before you make that purchase.
Right. And knowing this right off the bat, right at the beginning, you will save so many resources, like your time and your gas money.
And money, yeah.
Because you won't be looking at places that aren't going to serve you for what you want in the future.
Well, there's land that might need to be bulldozed. Why pay somebody to come in with a backhoe or bulldozer to clear your land when you could have a piece that's already been done, and that work's already been done for you.
When you start looking for the right piece of property for your new homestead or for going off grid, there's a sort of a two-step process. One is find the area that you want to live in, like possibly how far from town do you want to be, or you want to be near a certain highway or a certain road. So look for the area and determine the area that you want to be in, or what municipality you want to be in, or what school area you want to be in.
Also, the amount of traffic that you want to be exposed to in your choice of where you want to homestead or live off grid. Some people prefer to be near where there's a secondary road or even a main road, because they may intend on doing business, and that way they can take advantage of that passerby traffic that is already going by their door. Instead of spending money on advertising and whatnot, you can hang a sign outside your driveway gate or something like that, right? And do
fresh
business
chickens.
So yeah,
fresh
eggs, yeah, that kind of thing, right? So yeah, fresh eggs and that kind of thing, yeah.
And once you go through all the looking at the different areas and you decide what area you want to buy property in, we suggest you go to local authorities and find out a few things. That can you actually go off grid, or can you actually have a homestead? Can you do what you want to do with the property?
What types of things do you need permits for?
And what about cell phone service? That do you have is there cell phone service in the area?
Internet.
Right, and any other services that you feel you may need, confirm that they're available in that area.
Listen to that gray tree frog, isn't that neat?
It is.
So most of these points do apply to mainly off-grid, but they do apply if you're buying on-grid property as well.
Now, once you find the property that you think is the perfect one for you, or you want to look into it into more detail, there's a lot of things you need to look at. Like, is there water there? Like, if you're homesteading or if you're off-grid, you'll need water on the property, and the best thing is to either have a stream, a river, or a lake where you have water available all the time. And then, of course, there's a septic. You're going to be having a septic or an outhouse, or what type of service are you thinking of having for your waste?
If there's no water, then you might look at either a dug well, a sand point, or a drilled well, and all these have a whole range of expenses that you'll want to know about before you make that purchase. Do some research. There are well depths and water table depths and all that kind of a thing that you can check into as well. So.
And sometimes neighbors are a good source too of information about what the water table's like, and the water that's available if you do put a well in.
And if you're in an unorganized area, then you can sometimes you can skirt inspections, and that can sometimes work to your advantage or not. If you do want to have inspections on your property, on building and that kind of thing, you can always hire an inspector from an adjacent township that is in an organized area, and have them come out and do a proper inspection for you, and make sure that everything is built according to plans.
And part of the purchasing process, if you are buying a property that has existing buildings on it, is you can get a special inspection done where they will go over, and if there's any concerns, They will let you know, like say if it needs a new roof or they have something with the foundation, they will write you a report and let you know. Now, this isn't something that could be a negative. Well, it could be a negative, it could be a positive, because then you know, like if they say, well, you know, the shingles need to be replaced in 5 years as an estimate, then you know that you're going to have to budget to do that over the next 5 years.
Or it could affect your offer when you make an offer to purchase, right?
Right.
So also you want to know what is on the property, what rights do you have on your own property? Not all properties come with 100% rights of the owner, the purchaser, being able to do absolutely everything that they want. Besides, you know, permits and regulations, there could be things like mineral rights, forestry, forestry rights, timber rights, even water rights that you want to do your homework on as well. So I knew of one property owner that after they purchased their property, the following spring, she was walking her pristine, quiet woods only to find some notices on the trees that the property was about to be mined. Somebody had the mineral rights, and that they were going to have to cut some of the trees down and then start mining. So to her dismay and shock. So yeah, you want to check that.
You also want to check to see if there's a survey of the property. The real estate agent should have that available for you to take a look at, because sometimes a survey will give you information about the property. Are there any right-of-ways, any rights of use, or anything else that could encumber your land? Like we looked at one piece of property and it had a right-of-way across it. Now the person hadn't used it, but if we hadn't noticed the right-of-way, then someone could have just started putting their driveway in across that property. So you want to check for a survey. You want to see if there are any rights of ways or rights of uses that are that property is subject to.
One thing that you may want to do before you purchase your property is make sure that you've got access, deeded access. It could be in the form, as Maureen was saying, a right of way, but you want to make sure it's not landlocked, by adjacent properties, or no access from the main road.
Right. There's been instances where a current property owner had access across a neighbor's property, but it was a verbal access, and it was only to the current owner. So the future owners really did not have any type of legal access, even if the owner still was nice enough to let them cross. So you don't want to get stuck in a situation like Glenn says, where your land ends up being landlocked because someone sells their piece of property and the new owners decide they don't want you crossing, or they want you to pay to cross, or something like that, right? Yep. And also too, in areas, like especially in Ontario, in rural areas, people have road access, and a lot of times it appears to be year-round access because the guy at the end of the road takes his tractor and he plows it every day. Well, that's not really year-round access. It may be fine for you for what you want, but you want to make sure that you know there's a way that you can always get in and out of that road at all seasons.
Unless you don't want to and you want to just snowmobile or walk in, hike in, right, and rough it. So
that's true.
So that's a few points that you may want to consider before you purchase your special piece of property for off-grid living. That's all for this time. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Big thumbs up if you have. Please subscribe. I'm Glenn.
I'm Maureen.
That's all for now. We'll see you next time. Over and out.
Take care.